They win last night. Was it a close game or not?
It was a great game. 27 strikeouts.
I'd like to call over the Beaver County Board of Commissioners work session for Wednesday, October 28th, 2020. We have a review of work session discussion meeting minutes and no questions or concerns. We move the department head report. Dan?
Had a meeting with Recreation Tourism Director Finish Monday, and he expressed his concerns with there are a couple of shelters in Brady's Run Park that he wasn't able to rent this year. Unsafe. I think we've used this in the past. In particular, shelter number 4. He says that he has money in his budget this year and next year to have prefab shelters for us to install prefab shelters. So what I'm looking for is permission to go in and raise 2 or 3 shelters in the park so that we can get those back on the books for rentals.
When he says they're unsafe, I don't doubt that, but what is it? Why are they unsafe? Is it structural? Is it the roof? Is it the beams?
Yeah, these are actually the ones that a few years back that Whitman came and looked at, and they were deemed. I mean, they could have fallen over. Said they were okay for the time being, but couldn't guarantee that they were going to stay safe. Our guys since then have gone and looked at them, and the main beams and things like that are rotting and deteriorating away.
Is the cement pad still good?
I think they said structural deficiencies.
Did he give you a cost? I'm just curious what a prefab structure costs. No. I'm wondering how much he makes per rental. Yeah. Yeah. So I want to recover the prefab cost. Okay.
The number of dead trees that are along the walking paths and near the shelters and stuff. Do we take those down? Do we hire somebody?
Well, if
You guys do.
if it's something that we can handle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a couple of fairly
Especially if
good
they're in
ones.
open areas.
Well, I'm not worried about the ones that are up in the woods, but especially along all walking paths from the lodge towards the horse arena area.
We have spent in the past, like last winter, we spent a lot of time on the walking circle, removing dead trees. So
Yeah,
it's kind of like a winter project, to do that. So,
Yeah, that one you can see there's a lot of trees now, but I'm talking more where the shelters.
shelters and that, yeah.
So I just have to notice now that the music on and stuff. You can see a lot.
Spent some time doing things like that this
Yeah, I don't think it's a high priority. I don't see anything that's imminent, but obviously you could probably be spending a month there trying to clean stuff up.
I know, and some of the stuff that's already down, myself and we had conversations in the past, possibly doing something, but I kind of felt
I didn't know if, when you said that, whether it was unsafe, but some trees surrounding some of those shelters. I don't know all the numbers, but just saw that.
Yeah, that's definitely things that we take care of.
Okay.
Update on
No,
I was going to ask update on the roof. The project they working or?
They are supposed to, I believe this weekend, they will be getting started.
Okay.
Yeah, this weekend. We have scheduled weekly progress meetings. Obviously, we did that last week. Nothing happened from then until now. So there's every Wednesday. Ronnie K from Constellation canceled this week because there's nothing new to report. So the roofing, they're going to be started, I believe, this weekend. And one of the market around there on Saturday. So they're gonna do this on Sunday.
Okay.
They're gonna bring their crane in and start setting materials up on the roof on Sunday.
They're thinking the lights. On the columns.
Yeah.
Yeah. So these guys did that. right?
Yeah, and his staff did that.
I passed them on to state management.
Right.
Pass along some feedback.
Yeah, no, it's
Yeah.
it's good concept, so.
It'd be nice for Always to change those up and, different colors and things.
Just two other things, I was also, Woodland Crossing Saturday, looks great. Really appreciate work, got to talk to the contractors, they did a nice job there.
Yeah, unbelievable the amount of progress they made just a couple days. I was-
You said- You said yesterday they were in the hallway, so they were down there again yesterday, doing more.
Yeah, with, they. All that area, you can see most of the dead stuff on all that is all lake, prep for soil,
They were spraying the rodeo stuff
Rodeo, yeah.
to make sure that the Japanese not eat, and stuff.
there was some issue, like, those pine trees were so planted so close together that, some of the ones that were left, it was dead. So I had asked him, to trim up a couple of feet, so it would be uniform, to remove some of the dead stuff that was up against it. So he was gonna do that, and then that would give access to, that would get underneath those trees better as well. And some of the bushes that are around the first conservation area there on the left, they were a little bit thick. So I asked him to remove, a couple of those as well. All nice.
Yes,
Hayes.
Yeah, I was surprised to see him there Saturday when I was there. And just one last thing for you, the HVAC, bid process, you're satisfied with that?
Wayne and I will get, yeah, I mean, there was, two that we figured. So I was a little bit surprised by the difference in the numbers.
Mhm.
But, when those came in, I was,
Right.
certainly confident.
Well, I think that confidence in either one of them being, good. All right, just want to make sure that was. I know that's been an issue for a while.
Any other department head report? Any questions? We'll move to solicitors.
Nothing to report for the public portion of the meeting. We will need executive session to discuss personnel matters.
Any questions for the solicitor? Board of Commissioners, the only thing, go ahead.
Wanted an update on the cafe contract. It really came to mind yesterday. We had that long day interviewing. And
Gotta go get candy.
I think the machine kept rejecting my money. So fortunately for me, somebody went out and got me a hot dog. Otherwise, I don't know how I would have made it. So it's important that we can get that expedited. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, the gentleman who we met with, I don't know what, last week.
Garcia?
Yeah, Christian Garcia. He called us up, needed to meet with us again. I typed him up a link. He needed that, he said, for the insurance to issue the policy. He knows now that the next step is for him to actually obtain that policy, sign the lease, and then we'll present the signed lease. It still seems as though all systems are go with him. He requested to see the space one more time, take some measurements, so that's a good sign. So I think we're all on the same page that the sooner rather than later is best. Seems to share that. So that was just, what was that? I think that was yesterday. So yeah, I expect to hear from him by the end of the week.
The only other thing I had was the CARE Act monies. I'm gonna defer that to the chairman and so I speak with one mouth.
So we are looking at the distribution of CARES Act money for the municipalities moving forward. The board was giving the request from municipalities. At this time, there has been 23 applications that were submitted, requesting that requested more than what they would be funded for by the calculations through ZNA. What the calculations were determined through population. It was $4 million divided by the population of the county. Then there's a percentage of each municipality. For instance, I will just give one example, two examples. Aliquippa, his allotment would be $222,022, $4,749. Ambridge allotment would be $165,846, but they have requested $720,000. So what we're preparing to do is start to notify the municipalities of the 30 that have submitted applications and say, this is what you're eligible for. You can come pick this check up pending the pending they're spending the money on what they should be spending on police.
Yeah, there's certain
PvP.
requirements that the money has to be spent on. One of the biggest budget items is anything that's associated with the police department, salaries, benefits, wages for the police department is eligible to be used for the CARES Act funding. Any type of PPE equipment that was purchased, any type of other equipment, computers, plexiglass that was purchased under COVID, municipalities would be eligible in order to seek reimbursement for that. As Commissioner Camp said, we received some requests from some municipalities that what they've requested is an amount higher than other ones. Those municipalities, we will contact them and let them know what that check would be. There are some municipalities that requested an amount that's lower than what they're otherwise eligible to get. We're going to reach out to those municipalities and let them know that you're eligible to receive more amount of money if you can justify it. And you would have to submit that information to the county within 2 weeks. And then there's a third group that didn't submit anything at all. We're going to reach out to that group to let them know, hey, you're eligible for this amount of money, but you need to submit something to the county within 2 weeks that qualifies.
And I think what we plan on doing is the ones who do not submit anything, or for instance, if Aliquippa doesn't resubmit more expenditures, we're going to be putting that money back to the pot and redistribute it to the ones who are eligible, who are requesting more money. I do know that we had early discussions with the state and the federal government. There's a good chance come December 15th that we might be getting a redistribution of more money coming from the state, which only gives us around 30 days to spend that. We will hopefully be able to give more money to these municipalities through that process. But we want to make sure that we give all the municipalities a chance to gain some money. I mean, even the smaller ones, White Township is eligible for $32,000. They haven't applied for anything. So we're hoping that, by us reaching out to the municipalities here in the next couple of days, they'll start, get the ball rolling and find some expenditures. But as Solicitor Fidel said, any municipality who has a police department is technically eligible and can use that money to fund their police department.
Or if they have a contract.
Yes, or if they have a contract, yes. Vanport.
Anybody else a
Ohio
contract
Dome,
with police department, so there's like 7
They're
different
expensive,
states. Well, expensive, but it's anybody related to public safety. Right? So,
Correct. So those expenses would qualify, that would allow you to submit an application.
Submit the application.
And then once you get that money, then in turn, that's up for the municipality to decide how they want to spend it.
The only other thing I have other than CARES Act, if we're going to move on, is just some election information. To date, there has been 35,391 mail-in ballots sent out or applied and or sent out. 22,827 have been returned here to the courthouse via mail or in person. Early voting by mail-in ballot, the courthouse has ended as of yesterday. If you have a mail-in ballot and would like to turn in at the courthouse, or if you have a mail-in ballot and you would like to turn in the courthouse, you still can. If you've applied for a mail-in ballot and did not receive one, you can come to the courthouse and get your ballot, or it can be mailed to you. If you'd like to take your ballot to your polling place because you'd like to vote at the poll now, what will happen is the judge of elections will void your ballot, and you will do a new one. If you have destroyed your ballot and threw it away, you'll vote by provisionary ballot. If you plan on turning a completed ballot in at the courthouse, so I completed here or at the polling place, and I go to my polling place on November 3rd and want to give that, they will void that ballot. They will give you a new one, and you have to vote, cast a new ballot there. You can come to the courthouse here on election day to turn your ballot in if you don't feel comfortable going to your polling center. All 129 polling places will be open. And the biggest question I think we're going to continue to get is Beaver County will not start opening and processing any mail-in ballots until Wednesday morning, November 4th. So we will have some election results on November 3rd, the ones that were casted at the polling centers, but any mail-in ballot, none of them will be starting to be processed until November 4th, the morning of. And then that's all I have for my commissioner.
Just a couple of things. We, Hollywood and I visited Pitmoss in Ambridge. We're trying to work with them. You know, we have a compost field and stuff, which is kind of competing material for what Pitmoss does, which is a recycled paper mulch that is better than most compost and some other things. So we're looking for a collaborative arrangement with them and some of the stuff that Holly does with the schools to do that. But one thing that I learned yesterday in that visit, that peat moss itself, which has to be dug up out of the ground, it's several 100 years old moss. Most of it's imported from Canada. When you go to plant a tree and they give you, that bag of peat moss, that's the equivalent of burning 22 pounds of coal in terms of carbon release. I had no clue about that, and they kind of like us to work on a collaborative environmental approach to avoid using peat moss if we can use compost from our fields or the pit moss material. So it's something they may come back and ask us to kind of have Beaver County be one of the first peat-free zones, and when we do plantings and stuff, use either pit moss or the compost stuff rather than having that contractor go and use imported peat moss from Canada. So something for us to just kick around that I thought was interesting. And the bags and blessings stuff, there's been a great effort here on that process between Conservation District, Wrecking Tours, and the county and their folks have been working on that, and we'll start planting trees in the spring to repopulate Brady's Run originally had this dead trees there and memories of different folks. So another great community initiative that it's a nice collaborative arrangement there. So I'd like to thank Deputy Robin Redfern for that effort. And that's it, other than some personnel issues. So.
Any questions or anything else? We'll move to other business. The only other business that we would have is work session for Wednesday, November 4th is canceled, will be canceled. Day after election, we always seem to cancel it. There's, especially this year with opening the ballots, there's going to be a lot going on here at the courthouse. So that's the only other business and announcement. So we'll move to audience participation. Control?
On that, about 11 people,
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Is that a Wednesday?
Yes.
Thank you.
But the question on the CARES money, so the 4 million, you've allotted 4 million to municipalities, you're gonna try your best to get all that money out to municipalities. If it keeps coming back first run, but the 4 million you guys said.
It's all going to go out because, for instance, we have quite a few municipalities that have asked or requested more, that are eligible for more too. So no matter what, that 4 million is going to be sent out hopefully by.
Yeah, I think that's one thing we want to get with you. I know your check runs are sort of off in November. When would we be able to put a check run together to get these checks out to municipalities? Because that might dictate what we put in this letter that we
If
send
we
out.
know, we know that it's on the work. Just so we know, we just can't get the process on it. We can come with our own, say, what do you think, and let's plan a date. So we would not pay.
I think the critical item for us is all these municipalities are working on their budgets right now.
They want to know how
So
much.
I'd like to know, I
Yeah,
think
so
that-
when will you guys be ready to give us a list?
We can give you a list on some of them right now.
We can start.
at least from what they're eligible for the
Yeah.
first
And
one.
even we can start and print those and hold them, right?
Yes.
We're not together, but we can find-
About half of them, we can tell you the exact figure.
So this,
right now.
there's 23 of them that requested more funding than what we're giving them. So those could, the first wave of checks can start going out.
to them,
Yeah.
We can start processing.
There's 7 that requested less than what they're receiving. So we're going to reach out to them and say, hey, you're could receive more funding. Would you like to, or would you like us to redistribute that to the other municipalities? Then there's 23 that haven't submitted any
We're gonna
applications.
reach those 23 out and what they can get.
In City Hall Tour, I think what we'll do is we'll do the same things that we did for the businesses, that we would have them come here to sign and pick up the check, and there's paperwork that they're gonna have to sign. So I think what we can do is we can work with the controller's office as far as for those 23, getting those checks printed, getting a notification out to those municipalities that are eligible. Then the other ones, I think we were thinking of a 2-week deadline. So we probably were looking at, I guess, November 13th, which is up to you.
I think that's a good plan, that let's do a pickup date after the day we checks if we can. Yeah, we can get together, I think with Tony, we can look at the calendar, we can figure out what works.
Yeah.
And you just have some tentative ones for the other rounds.
So with this next wave though, there's gonna have to probably be a period of time that Zelenkovsky and Axelrod reviews what's submitted. So if we give them to the 13th to submit stuff, which would be 2 weeks from Friday, then Zelenkovsky also is probably gonna take a week or so in order to submit or review what it is that they submit to make sure that it is eligible. And then from there, we'd have to give a figure, so.
There aren't that many, like we're talking.
Yeah.
So we should-
Yeah.
I mean, we'd love to be able to say that every municipality, every resident, got something back.
I think if,
I would still think that most, I mean, it's hard for me to imagine.
Should be able to find.
Most don't have something, at least with the police contracts and some other things.
Like people like industry and medical.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
The one other question I have, do we have an update on where they are on the reassessment? I know last time I heard was Rochester.
Economy.
Industry didn't apply. If you know anyone in industry.
Yeah, I do.
Just in case.
Just for you.
I think
Rochester
Rochester has extra.
has Rochester Borough.
They would.
Yeah, they requested 246,000. They're eligible for 86, and the township is the same. They requested 155 and they're eligible for 65. So they were both probably last day entries. But so
Just in the wrong numbers.
yeah,
They submitted them.
and most of them were probably
Some of them
police
have to
departments.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
and
know.
in Rochester case, like, why am I submitting a month there? Maybe we need it, I don't like it.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys need help, so.
Yeah, and they changed that last minute, correct?
Yeah, there was a lot of confusion as far
With-
as
with
whether the
law enforcement,
yeah, whether there was eligibility or not. And then we got a clarification there late in the process that police departments are eligible just in what you pay in their salary, regardless of if they did anything with COVID or not.
How many hours they actually spent.
Yeah, prior to that, we weren't sure how much money was going to be able to be given to the municipalities because you can only buy so many laptops and plexiglass shields.
Yeah.
And it's only going to be $5,000, $10,000. Then that's why we're starting to see the larger numbers because it's definitely the ones the larger police departments are submitting. So, any other audience participation? Oops, sorry.
I'm sorry. Last week, Commissioner Manning had mentioned about a phone call from the Department of Agriculture. I was notified yesterday that the Department of Agriculture will not be reimbursing the county when we send out our dog license. That is about $3,500 for my office, and I do believe that I can scratch that out in our budget this year, but we'll have to plan for next year. The department has said that they would print that in PDFs, but they're not quite sure if they'll get them out, in the timely manner. And a lot of the treasurers in other counties, are taking it upon themselves to get those out as well. I already ordered my own books, so I can't really cost them money, but we'll be doing that in-house.
And that's because the program's insolvent, which is why they're pushing for the passage of those bills, right?
Yeah. I'm not quite sure how that happened. I'm thinking that there's a little bit of mismanagement.
In Harrisburg?
Yeah.
I'm shocked.
We paid the department about $90,000 this year, system tax. I'm not talking about any fines that we issue, it's a $300 fine, if you do not have your balance. So they should be.
Frustrating, but thank you.
Dan?
The departmental and office request for that for right here, have they been approved or work on those?
Right after we determine this $4 million, we can start looking at the bigger requests that
He has the list of, he hasn't given them to us yet. I haven't seen them. Yeah, I haven't seen
he's
them.
breaking out all the big requests that as a part of
So
that.
once it's,
So in the meantime, if we need masters, stuff like that.
You know, you could use the cost center set up in New World and we make that transfer.
any other audience participation? Hearing none, we'll move into, we need to reconvene. We'll move into executive session, not reconvene.
You want them? Oh, yeah. That's why I keep my hair down fresh.
43,000.
Good, how are you?
Just a tip. Nothing but a nice guy. Probably 45 minutes, then we have an election meeting afterwards. But, for you?
I'll probably do it. I'll make everyone's gonna.
Okay.
That was the main thought. How's everyone?
And we'll just do Sonia and Bill.
We're scrambling,
Yeah.
How's the wife?
Yeah, I think.
She's not good. Yeah. No, she's not, this is the first time in 16 years she hasn't done an Appalachian Trail for a couple of weeks. Yeah.
All right, my friend.
The-
We request that for.
Oh, and, we have to plan extra day because we could have, elections coming.
Come on, Matt.
He gave me the thing.
I've got that.